Does anybody else feel like you wake up, you write the perfect plan and list for your day? You're feeling energized, you feel like you've prioritized, and you're ready to get started on your to-do list. But then all these things start popping up. Suddenly the laundry takes longer to do, or you get a phone call from a friend. And then what happened to your whole day of productivity and organization turns into you sitting on the couch, binge watching TV, and scrolling through social media. But how often do we write a massive to-do list to only ever get a couple things done and then feel defeated at the end of the day? Does that resonate with you? That's what we're chatting about here today. Hey y'all, it's me, Lauren, here with Plan with Lauren. In today's video, we're gonna talk about 3 different ways to level up your to-do list so that you actually get things done. We're gonna chat about what to do on the days that we are just stuck and that we don't want to do anything, that we feel crappy. And along the way, I'm gonna provide some of my go-to tips and tricks, as well as break down some common misconceptions. Now, before we start the video, I need to know, when you complete your to-do list, do you put a check or do you put a line across it? Today's video is in collaboration with our friends over at Bloom Daily Planners. If you don't know about Bloom, make sure to check out the link in the description down below. They are a stationery company that has phenomenal planner products. They care a lot about the people behind the products and have a mission to empower and inspire women along the way. Helping us out and leveling up our to-do list and getting everything done is Bloom's to-do list pad. You can check out the 6x9 to-do list pad over on their website. You are given a section for your schedule, your top priorities, and all of your to-dos. I always preach the 5-minute habit in staying consistent with your planners or your organizational tools. Spend 5 minutes of your day closing out the day that you just had and planning for the day tomorrow. Now, during this 5 minutes a day is when I actually like to sit down and write out my to-do list. And caveat here, there is no right or wrong way to write a to-do list. But for me, I also fall into this trap of wanting to prioritize what I have going on as my most important things, but I also am someone who just has a bunch of ideas in my head. And I like to use my to-do list as a place to write out all of my ideas. So the first thing we're gonna do when leveling up our to-do list is we're gonna do a massive brain dump. And what this means is we are literally just going to take a piece of paper. I tend to do this in a notebook or something where I can refer back to it, but we're gonna go ahead and we are going to write out every single thing that we want to do in the day. For me, this is something that I like to do anytime that I feel overwhelmed, anytime that I feel stressed. I just feel like there is a massive weight taken off of my shoulders for just physically putting everything out into the open. And then what we are going to do is we are going to prioritize. One thing that comes to mind, and it was brought up by one of my lovely patrons, Kendra, is that you can do anything. You are capable of doing anything, but you cannot do everything. So we have to take time to figure out what are the things that are going to be the most important for us. And so what I like to do is I like to make this massive list. Then I take out a handy dandy highlighter, and I take that highlighter and I highlight all of the things that actually make sense for me to get done in a day. So we've made our brain dump. We've put everything out there. Now I want you to take a second and examine what you have put on your to-do list. Are there an equal amount of things that you are physically doing versus the amount of things that you are also doing for yourself? On all of the tasks that we are going to do, we want to do as many things as we are doing for others, or we are doing for our household, or we are doing to make sure that, our family survives, as we're doing for ourselves. Self-care looks different for everybody, and I'm not necessarily saying that you have to put 5 items for you to do and then you have to put 5 items of self-care. But think about the time that you're spending doing everything. Are you putting on your to-do list things that are going to refill your cup or things that are going to make you happy? I wanna make sure that I'm doing as much for myself or as close to as much for myself as I am for all of the other things that I have on my list, like to run to the store and to do the laundry and to do all of these other things. For so long, my mindset has been once I do an important task, then I can reward myself. And I'm actively trying to work on how can I be rewarding myself in a sense of, again, just simple things, coffee, reading, listening to podcasts throughout my day as I'm actively doing tasks. Then what we're gonna do is a mixture of planning as well as a mixture of the to-dos. What are things that I can assign a time? And if I can assign a time to it, then that's what I'm gonna do. What are things that have to get done within a certain time frame, whether it's like an important call that needs to be made or there is something that has to be submitted within a particular time frame. We're gonna go ahead and put those first. Just like we talked about in a recent video, which is all about creating your ideal week, we leave room in our days that are blank. In that blank time, which I referred to in that video as your white space time, can you go ahead and schedule some of your to-do list in that time? So you're going ahead and you're making the time to complete them. You're gonna do this a little bit back and forth by looking at your to-do list and looking at your schedule today and seeing, again, what's realistic. Just because you write something down doesn't mean that you have to get it done. Again, this is why we go back to our brain dump and we have written it all down. Now I have a reference to use for the rest of the week or the rest of the month or whatever time frame I'm working in to go back to it. And again, even though I've made my priorities of things I want to get done today, it doesn't mean that we have to. So now we have our to-do list for the day. We've taken time to think about it. We've been intentional about it. We've organized our thoughts and our priorities. And we got a great to-do list. In an ideal world, we would do this every single day and we would bust through our to-do list and we'd be so productive and we'd never falter with it. Everything would go according to plan. We wouldn't have to worry about any external factors coming in. But guess what? As much as I wish it was, that is not the reality of life. So what do we do when life happens? What do we do when our best laid plans take a turn? Some days suck and some days are just meh days. They're not good, they're not bad, but we don't necessarily always have the motivation or the discipline to go ahead and do everything that we want to do. And I know for me, that can lead to a lot of sadness or a lot of frustration or me not feeling like I'm good enough. And to combat that, I work on a daily top 3. Every single day, as a part of this routine building process that we do, I mark out 3 things that I want to get done before bed. Whether you have a specific section like Bloom's scheduling pad does, or you just decide to highlight the top 3 things on your to-do list, figuring out 3 things that you need to do for the day that will make you feel like you've accomplished, you've been productive, and you've done what you've needed to get out of the day, I think is so important. What is going to make me and my household and the people that I have to take care of on a day-to-day basis better by completing. Now, these aren't necessarily like my super aspirational things. Every once in a while, something like that will pop up. I'm all about simple and realistic and achievable plans. And by identifying those top 3 things, I'm able to set my day around those 3 things, no matter how good or bad that I feel. And even my top 3 priorities isn't always foolproof, but I know that once I complete those 3 things, if I complete it at 2 p.m., the rest of the day I don't want to do anything else, then I don't. And because I have completed something, I don't necessarily feel bad. So there's some of the basic things when leveling up your to-do list. Now, this did not come overnight to me, y'all. This took a lot of different trial and error to figure out what exactly worked for me, and it might take some time to figure out what exactly works for you. I remember when I first started reading about productivity and started to implement it in my life, a big idea at the time was to put a due date to something that didn't necessarily require a due date. Like saying like, I have to get the laundry done by Tuesday at 5 p.m. And that was just never something that worked for me personally. If something doesn't legitimately have a due date or doesn't have a fixed time and when it needs to get done, even by writing down that it does, I am unable to trick my brain. Get to that time and the task wouldn't be done and I'd just be like, well, I missed it, so can't do it anymore. Another thing that's really helped when it comes to my to-do list is taking time to look at my goals. I used to sit down and write a massive to-do list, and some of these things were just super random. They were like projects in the house that I wanted to get done but didn't have to get done. All of these things that could get done, but there was no rhyme or reason to it. So my suggestion to you is to take time to look at your goals that you have in your life. If you have a goal to save $100 in a month, on your to-do list, you could potentially write how much you need to save on a day-to-day basis to make sure that you are hitting your target. We're wanting to integrate our goals into become daily habits so that they become sustainable. So taking time when you're sitting down to do your massive brain dump and thinking about what can I do today to advance my goals, I think is really crucial. And one more thing, and this kind of piggybacks off of a couple of things that I've done, is setting your to-do list based on your realistic schedule. It's why I talked a little bit back on one of my points where when we set our to-do list, we do part planning and part to-do list. Understanding what your realistic week looks like. There are gonna be days that are busy and there are gonna be days that are not busy, and maybe taking the days that are not busy to be more to-do list heavy days. Some things take multiple steps. For example, the laundry needs to be done. Clothes need to be sorted. I have to do multiple loads of laundry, and then I have to actually fold the laundry and put it away. And one may say, I might only write that down as laundry, but it could be a to-do list of 4 or 5 different steps along the way. A trick or a tip that I have learned and that really helps me out is the way in which I cross off my to-do list. I bet you didn't think there were so many things to think about when it comes to a to-do list. When I go ahead and I am doing a task that requires multiple steps, if I worked on that task at all in any slightest way, I put a check mark next to it. It's that I've worked on it, I've thought about it, I have made progress on that. Now, if I complete it, I strike it through, I completely put a line through it, and again, that is signaling that I took the time to work on it, it's completed, I don't need to think about it. There's definitely some things that do not get done. There are 2 ways that I deal with this. If it's something that I still want to do, I'll go ahead and I'll make a little arrow. And additionally, if there's something that I thought that I would do, but I've realized it's not really that important, then I just put an X right next to it as something that I don't plan on carrying over and that just didn't get done. I bet you had no idea that there were so many things that you could talk about when it comes to to-do lists, but I feel like I only scratched the surface and so many more things that we could continue to talk about. But that's it for today's video, y'all. Let me know in the comments down below. Tell me, how do you do your to-do list? I want to hear more about the ways in which you tackle your to-do list and that makes you feel good about it. If you are new here, welcome. I hope that you decide to stick around. I talk all about planning, productivity, and how to use the resources that you have to plan today for a better tomorrow. I upload new videos every Monday and Thursday. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and check out the description for more information about Bloom and other videos of mine that you might find helpful. As always, y'all, my name is Lauren here with Plan with Lore, and I'll see y'all next time.